Chhaya. You're a founder owner of Business Implicit. You are a consultant for companies doing business in France and also a trainer for multicultural teams. You have been in France for 15 years. Why do you think successful foreigners get destabilized working in France?
In the last several years of having worked with international teams, multicultural environments, and really worked with expats and foreigners who are in France, I've been able to identify 5 main elements that create an expectation gap and which cause frustration in the career path of the foreigners. What are those? Let's start with the very first, which is the ambiguity of the system in the French corporate world. What do I mean by that? Well, there are the rules of the game, which are written, which are oral. At the same time, these are not the rules which are followed actually. Let me give you a little example of this girl young, fantastic worker, Judith, very, very diligent, who was told that the files have to be sent to the clients on the day that was asked. So the deadline had to be very much respected. She did exactly that. 9 o'clock in the morning, she sends up the files. Very happy with this. The only thing is then she finds out what she did was absolutely no. Because Mr. Henry, the big boss, always wanted to verify the files just before they were being sent out. Nobody had even told her that. How do you learn that? So of course, the second part that happens is how do we communicate? How do we communicate in this environment? There are so many communication protocols that the foreigners don't understand. Some people think that the French are just being rude or too direct for their liking. That's not really the case. In France, we say, behind every no that you receive, there is hiding a but. Now, are you ready to take those buts? It would be completely dependent on you. Let's talk about the personal career ambitions that we have. Do we talk about them? Do you like to be the person who says, hey, my success goals are such and such, my sales figures for the last year have been this, or I want to be able to take that corner office? If you do, France may not be the place for you. We don't talk about our ambition in those terms. We suggest it. We show it, but we do not mention it. So we just saw that the third point was ambition, the personal ambition. And the fourth brings us to the most important, or one of the most important, which is networks. Where are those networks in the corporate world, in the company? They're not going to be out there written down where you can pinpoint, go on the computer and the Excel file opens up into all those names. You'll have to learn how to find them. And these networks, it's not just who you know, it's how much you know that person. Which brings me to the last point, which causes frustration. How do you anyways know anybody? Because the fifth header in my elements is people do not show up their individual preferences or their personality just like that in France. Let's just take a simple example of, would you put your title on your business card? Would you say professor, doctor? Not in France. You won't see that. What you will see is, when you go into an office, is that little phone book from the school right behind the desk that tells you where the person belongs to. Conclusion of all this? Where does that lead you? How do you manage these expectations and the gaps in these expectations? Well, you have two choices. You can either be frustrated by these expectation gaps that you see, and blame them, or else what you can do is learn more about the environment that you're in. Choice is yours.